kids.
Oh, yes.
Dead flat from that fell off the roof.
Okay, let's hear that one. How did Matt fall off the roof?
That's how it come in missing too. When I met him, he could pop the retaining
Well, I went
off
off
and
the
then
roof,
have
that
a
was out
missing
of the
tooth.
tree house.
He made a
Before they
tree house
constructed
in the
tree house.
backyard, and I wasn't watching him carefully.
Right.
I suffered over that
Oh,
for
no.
years.
I'm sorry, then we don't want to
No,
remember
it's
that
okay. I
story.
think I'm over it, but
Yeah.
oh God, I used to just think about that and how lax I was, and
That was such a,
he just fell flat on his face on the
so
cement,
poorly constructed.
and I didn't.
Yeah, those are pretty funny, but we can watch
Brad
them later,
Boyd
okay,
took you to the
Elizabeth?
hospital. You know.
Elizabeth.
Why don't we
Elizabeth.
watch them? You're more than welcome to watch those later, but we're listening to these stories right now.
Oh, look at Katie wearing her mother's dress that my mother made.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Nana made that. It's Thai silk. It's Chinese.
Oh
Chinese
my gosh,
silk.
that's beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah.
She made that.
Nana
Gosh.
did, yeah.
Oh, she made the wedding
Wow.
gowns and the
Wow.
bridesmaids' dresses and 2,500 pearls she sewed on her favorite granddaughter's
Allison's.
dress. In fact, you know, I said something about that to Allison, and she never heard it.
Oh, you're kidding.
Uh-huh.
Even
Heard
I
what?
heard it.
I said, well, we've all heard
We've
it
all heard it,
over
yeah,
and
we
over
all
and over.
know. How
But I guess
funny.
that
Well,
was kind of
Nana
kind.
knows.
That was,
Yeah.
you know, not
Very
to
kind
rub
not
that
to-
in.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing Nana before
Yes, other than
Allison's
like-
wedding,
Oh,
and she
you know what?
very proudly told me she made the dress and sewed on 2,500 pearls
Oh,
on
uh-huh.
the dress. I was impressed. I was totally
Yeah,
impressed.
it's pretty good. I'm looking forward to
That
this.
was funny. But my brother is only 5 years older than Matt.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Careful, sissy.
Well, he still is.
One of the-
Now he's about 15 years older.
One of the first stories you ever told me about Matt Tarlow was he was around 2-ish and you had him on the countertop and you said, don't touch that, it's hot.
Yeah, I had the waffle iron or something, and I sat him there and I said, no, hot, hot. And he just looks at me and goes,
I didn't do that.
that was-
Listen,
that was a
I didn't do that.
pretty typical story of Matt.
No, listen.
And then the one, you know, when you were growing up, you know what your father always said to me?
Mm.
Do not tell our children about me getting in trouble in school. Do not. He never wanted you guys to know about all the.
Yeah, so then he decided to tell us the stories about how he would light the gas on fire behind that one guy.
Well, it's safe to say it now, but I was called to the school
Lit my clubhouse on fire.
4th grade or something. And would you look at this?
Yeah.
Carved
Carved my
MAT
name in the desk.
in the desk.
At least you don't carve your own name in the desk. You carve
No,
somebody
I
else's.
know, he did. I took the point of a compass and it was like
Oh.
I covered the entire desk.
And I didn't know what to do. I said, oh, gee, I'm really sorry about that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I go to their house because we're gonna get married, and I'm laying in the bottom bunk, and I see written on the slab, Maddie the Fat Ratty.
No, because I put Matt. And then my brothers moved into the room later.
And wrote
Oh,
Maddie the
okay.
Fat Ratty.
Because it was always, wasn't it Matt is great? Isn't that what you put?
Matt
Great.
the
Or Matt
Great.
the
That's what I
Great.
wrote in tar in Nana's,
Wait, what did he
Nana's,
come up with?
What did he what?
What did he come
wrote
up
Matt the Great in tar on Nana's chimney.
Oh boy, I bet Nana
What did you
loved
ask,
that.
Elizabeth? What?
with? What did Papa Matt cover the desk with?
His initials.
He carved his
M-A-T.
initials in the desk.
I
Imagine what.
scratched it. I didn't carve it. I just scratched it with
Scratched.
the point of the compass.
But that was Miss
And that was
Cade.
one of the.
And then in the 6th grade, I heard later, a lot
Yeah.
later, that Miss Piercy, the one that hated you,
Yeah. Well, she had a tough time that year.
and she said, he had gum. I never bought gum for my kids, ever. I don't know how he got it. He was chewing gum, and they went out in the hall, and she said, "You get rid of that gum," and he went,
But
No, it
there's more
wasn't
to it
actually
than
like
that.
What did he
Yeah,
It
I
was-
felt bad
Right
for him.
there.
when
It was.
told
I
him
was
his
chewing. I
side.
was chewing gum, and we're walking out the class. Dutifully walking out, and she says, "Get rid of that gum." I said, "Okay, well, I can't get rid of it now. I'll wait till I get outside and I'll toss it." Well, she stops us again right at the door, like going outside. And she walks up, she says, "Get rid of that gum." And so I took it out of my mouth and I kind of held it out like that, and I really didn't mean to do it, but then it fell off my thing. So it was like, I swear I didn't mean to do it.
I felt
I
bad for him.
took it out there, and it was just like I went like that and dropped it, and she got so mad. She was like, "Get your ass to the office right now." She didn't say that.
She didn't
It's like,
say that.
Go to the office. It's like, go to the office.
Sounds like she was a Miss Fiona, Mrs. Gettle. I can't remember.
Well, he was incorrigible, and then poor Judy Thiel had
Yes.
I want to, yeah.
the next year she was there.
Yeah, I
Miss
swear that
Angel.
was not my intention to drop it on the ground. But it
Okay,
fell on the ground.
because I was told you just leaned over
And the
and
class
spit it out.
No, it wasn't.
I never heard it for
Really,
years.
I wasn't that bad where I would do that. But the whole class just kind of went
I'll bet.
like that. Going, oh no.
And she's the one. She's the one that
Yeah.
didn't give you a decent grade in math, so it,
Yeah, I know. So I wound up a year behind. I was a year behind, so I
So
didn't
you
wind
were
up taking.
on regular track.
Yeah,
instead of
regular
advanced
track. So I didn't take calculus in high school, which didn't really hurt me at all.
oh good.
So it
I
gave me
think they
probably
push
the better.
math too hard in high school anyway, especially for boys. I really do believe that it's developmental,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah,
you
I
can be
don't-
very bright, but
I don't
unless
think-
you're old enough, you should not.
I don't think kids should be taking calculus in high school anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite. I'll say that much. It was a lot. The funny thing was though, when I went to the academy and I took Calc 1 and Calc 2, we covered the same stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
But-
That's exactly right. But you
But I did it so much better.
All right. And
But you
that's
didn't take
that's
calculus
proof.
in high school, you took that full course. Or did,
I didn't take pre-calc
right. Oh.
because I couldn't take pre-calc because the
It
period it was
conflicted?
offered conflicted with electronics. And so I took trigonometry
And
and analytical geometry with
God.
good old Leon.
yeah, and you,
Can't manage. Are you good at math?
Well, it's easy because I was sitting in class
Good
with
for
like
you. I wasn't.
it made it very easy for me to stand out. Because all the
She just
smart
said,
kids
she just
were
said,
calculus.
don't touch, hot.
Oh. Pretty.
where's my phone?
Because all
Oh,
the
right
smart kids were in pre-calculus, so it was.
You know, the better one was the last day of school. This is the all time.
6th
The
grade.
last day at
I
elementary
felt
school.
really bad for him. I felt bad for
The
Papa.
last day, and we're gonna like get out, you know, at noon, and there was a softball game between us and the other 6th grade class, and just this big deal. And so we're going out, I don't know, somehow at recess or something, and we're all kind of walking in double line or whatever, and she says, she's kind of doing something. She's okay, do a snake-like line, and then I see all these idiots in my class who's kind of looking around, and I said, a snake-like line, you idiots, you know. She thought I was mocking her. So she sends me to the office on the last day of school. I missed like the whole second half of the day. I couldn't play in the softball game. I couldn't do anything.
Oh my God.
And then the nasty secretary in there, Mrs. Henry, she's just like, what are you in for this time? Kind of thing. Walk in, and I said, for saying a snake-like line. She kind of says, what? And then it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Because I was trying to remember, all I did was say a snake-like line. And she was convinced I was mocking her, which I wasn't. I was trying to help her.
That's not you help her.
No.
Well, she sounds like Fiona
Well, of
Gale.
course, I had to step in and you know, say what a bunch of dopes they were for not knowing what she meant.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear.
Because I wouldn't have mocked her. There's no way I would have mocked her.
Yeah.
I wasn't that bad. I was not bad. I
No.
was not malicious.
Yeah.
Sounds like you had about as good time with your sixth
I
grade
messed
teacher as I did
around.
with mine.
I know.
Poor Matt.
You were
Wow.
impulsive. Well, it's like Fiona's driving me crazy right now.
But he had two younger brothers that
I
took
do.
away all the attention from him.
Right.
That was
Right.
And the age difference.
No, it was the girls at home.
21 months to Brad and then 16 months to Jamie.
By the time
So
I
he
was
was
12,
just
what,
three.
so I was like
When-
12, so Jeannie was 2, Katie was 5. You know, so they got all the attention. I didn't get any. So I had to, that's the
But
only
you
way I
sure
knew.
did when you were a baby
Yep.
and a toddler. You got all the attention. And Tom's parents, oh my God,
Just
they
in
really,
love.
they adored him.
I think that's been a theme for Matthew Anthony Fields.
Maybe. Tom always said that his grandmother always said that Papa was going to end up in jail. But he was the sweetest guy in the world, but I guess he was a little devil growing up too.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't know, but when you said Papa didn't want to talk, I remember I asked my dad something one time, and he said, "Oh, honey, times have always been hard. It just, you know, this specifics might change, but times are always hard, and you just buck up and you do it. You don't complain. You just do it." Because he went through, you know, the depression, and
Yeah.
I think I don't know, ask him about the depression or something.
probably-
because,
It's
you know,
probably-
when he and Mom first got
probably-
married, it wasn't the depression, but trying to get a job with all the vets returning. And,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and those times are always hard. You just buck up and you do it, and you don't talk about it. I just went,
Oh,
and
okay.
that was his way of saying, don't ask me about that.
I always remember my parents having a bunch of people over and they were all talking about stories, depression stories, and they were laughing so hard. And, you know,
about all the stuff that they went through?
They walked out with things from
Oh, yeah,
Sears,
from the
I
stores,
guess.
yeah.
Oh, because they had no money and they had to.
And, yeah, and all, and they just doubled over laughing. But you know, we were little kids, so that was life. We didn't know things were really, really hard. We didn't know that.
Yeah. You know what you know. You don't know any different. You know, I mean,
And during the war, with all the rationing, I always thought that young people should be taught that. We had meat rationing, car rationing, gas
yeah.
rationing, sugar rationing, shoe rationing, all that stuff.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
it
Now can you tell the Red Robin story?
no, not right now. A little later, baby. A
Later.
little later.
Later,
Promise.
you remind her.
Yeah. So you remember the rations from the
Oh,
war?
yeah, sure.
Red Robin's
Cause
story.
what was I,
Yeah.
No, that's not a good
My-
time to tell it, sweetie.
celebrating my 11th birthday on Pearl Harbor Day,
Wow.
41, so it would have been my 11th.
So yeah. Oh, your birthday's Pearl Harbor Day.
Well, it's 2 days
2 days
later.
Later.
But,
But you're-
It was a Sunday.
Well, it was on
it was a Sunday. And so
Wow.
we had old friends from Los Angeles, Mother had over. And I remember them saying, Pearl Harbor, Pearl Harbor.
Oh.
And I didn't even know where Pearl Harbor
Sure,
was.
yeah.
And I didn't have sense to say, where's that?
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
that?
no, you don't wanna.
It was my birthday.
Yeah, darn it.
Darn it. Yeah.
Not Pearl Harbor, Tarla Field or Tarla Lynch. Not Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
And I
yeah.
remember my dad siphoning gas. We drove to Newport Beach to see some friends of theirs, and then they didn't think they had enough gas.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, like you doing the sucking on the hose?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Remember that? And then being so excited when
Go
you
up and
got
ask
a
her. Ask
coupon for a pair of shoes, you know?
Go sit right there, buddy.
Big deal.
Ask her, bud.
Well, I mean, buddy, you remember when we were watching that first episode of Band of Brothers, and they had all those planes that were taking those guys to the war, and all those guys were wearing the parachutes, and all that stuff had to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
Ask Grandma Tarla what you just asked, Logan.
Do you remember Pearl Harbor?
Mm-hmm.
She said it was 2 days after her birthday, honey.
I didn't
Before.
really realize what it was. But I remember I was babysitting when the end of the war with Japan, and I remember that, listening to the radio. So we didn't have TV. We always had radios.
Imagine not having TV, Logan. Oh my goodness.
I'd actually be fine with it.
Or cell phones or anything.
Yeah, I remember when
Because
James
we
Gates
don't watch
assassinated.
cartoons.
That was a big one too.
You don't?
Oh,
James
yeah.
Gates.
Good girl.
We don't watch cartoons.
Good girl.
Yeah, Jeannie was a
You
baby.
Yeah, we don't.
No, they must not watch them now.
Today, they're not watching
They're not watching them right this second.
No, I don't watch cartoons anymore.
She's a big girl.
We watch National Geographic stuff.
Logan,
Good
I
for
remember
you.
the first time Papa and I've talked about first time I saw color TV because TV was black and white
And
they're very
small.
and small, and you had tubes in it, you know, to create whatever. And if a tube went out, you didn't have TV, and you only had it in the evening time in Kansas City. I don't know about LA, but it was Walt Disney, and it was the wonderful world of Disney and Tinkerbell through the paint
Yeah, that's
cans.
pretty
And the
neat.
first one that was color, that was my first color I ever saw because different colored
Oh,
paints
sure,
came out of
yeah.
her can.
Yeah.
Oh, uh-huh.
The program then afterwards wasn't in color, but that preview to the Disney Channel was the first time I ever saw color TV.
Yeah.
Were you
It was-
surprised when you saw it?
Well, we knew it was happening. They had announced they were going to. We were all around TV, you know, out of this wonderful world of color. That song, remember that?
Yeah, I think they do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Wow. Elizabeth, honey. Okay. Well, what else do you remember about the war, Tarla? What were some other, like, was there, do you remember hearing like the nightly reports or?
Oh, I remember the blackouts,
Oh, boy. Yeah.
and my dad was in air raid war, and Tom's dad was too.
Japanese.
Yeah.
We're going around with
And,
civil defense patches on their arms.
Uh-huh. And, you know, making sure that the windows were covered.
Yeah. Were you awfully scared? Did it
No.
feel
I
scary?
didn't have any sense. Didn't have sense enough to be scared.
Well, that was
And then
probably.
there was bombing or something right in Long Beach.
Mm.
my mother says that they were in the German. Concordia was a German town, and so to show your loyalty to the United States, it it's like every young man, once they hit age to be drafted, went. And she, of course, had 7 older brothers. The oldest could stay on the farm, but all the others had to go. And so that's what she remembers. Was not
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I was told, and Tom remembers it, that they got the police there, I guess the police, was that what it was? That came to the Fields' house in the middle of the night during the war to interview Tom's dad because somebody working against our government was named Field.
Oh no.
And they came in the middle of the night and talked to him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We not.
Huh.
Do you know what happened to Pammy Briggs's brother? King
No.
Anderson? He was flying back and forth to the Middle East, so King's only, 4 years older than you are, so this is more recent, but along the same topic. And he was flying back, he's an engineer from Colorado School of Mines, so he's flying back and forth to the Middle East, and he got pulled out when he was trying to come back into the country. I'm pretty sure it was Atlanta. Interviewed for hours, not being able to see his family, make any phone calls in this little room. A man walks in, like an FBI, a man walks in, takes one look and says, no, that's not him, walks out, and they go, oh, sorry, Mr. Anderson, you can go. So he left, and then a couple months later, he comes back in, same thing happens, and he goes, what's going on? This is the second time you've done this. Is there something, and it was before you could do that clearance thing, global entry. He goes, turns out there was a King Anderson who was in the terrorist cell, but he was black. And you know how we can't do
Racial profile. Yeah.
So of course the guy walked in, saw him, said, "No, this isn't who you're looking
Right.
So
for."
he knew
But
immediately.
meanwhile,
Not enough
Hours.
melanin.
yeah,
Oh my
Huh.
gosh.
isn't it something? So then he got the.
That was pretty cool.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
the-
really
Then
cool.
they
There's a war
did something
out there
eventually
that-
when
I'll
whatever.
be
Yeah.
darned.
Yeah.
Pretty
But yeah,
cool.
can you believe?
Good
like
grief.
I know, poor guy.
Yeah.
That would be
This is
scary.
ball boy.
That would
Just
be
like
scary.
somebody
Yeah,
coming in the middle
sure.
of the night
Yeah.
for Papa.
Especially during that time where, you didn't have a lot of recourse.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
They
My,
could just about whatever they wanted with you.
so my great uncle Al, who grew up, my dad grew up with him. He was a bachelor. He was, never got married. Lived with my great grandmother on her farm and helped farm. He was in the war and was a half-track driver. And so, kind of like a tank, but not fully covered, and, had like the tank,
Yeah. What do they call them?
tracks. Anyway, so he stormed Utah Beach, and he never talked about it. Never, you knew you didn't talk to Uncle Al, you didn't mention the war. He came back forever changed, and to everybody's knowledge, he never said a word to anybody. And one weekend, this was when Eric and I both happened to be living at my parents' house after college. Again, Eric had moved up after UCLA, and I was home after graduating or between grad school, or I don't know what it was. But we decided we were going to go visit Sean and Jill up in, they'd moved to Coeur d'Alene at that time, and my dad grew up in Potlatch, Idaho, so that's where the family farm was out there. And my Uncle Al was still alive, and we'd gone to my grandma's farm, and then Eric and I had driven about an hour and a half to go see Sean and Jill. And my dad, he's just kind of has a quiet presence about him. He's just he can have a quiet presence about him.
No, I was shaking my head about, Magnum PI when we were talking about that joke of what year is this, Magnum PI, MacGyver.
Oh, sure, yeah,
Hawaii Five-0 are
Right.
all back on the air. What year is this?
So Dad and my Uncle Al were sitting on the front porch in rocking chairs, watching the sun go down. They were the only two guys there. And my Uncle Al just started the sentence by saying, "Yep, those were some hard times," and just released his story. And to my dad's knowledge, he's the only man that he ever spoke to. It was just like a couple years before his death. But he said that they were, on the ships to go storm the beach, and his company commander, whatever it is that you call them, pointed to the guys and said, you, and you, go right. You, and you, go left. And my Uncle Al was one of them pointed to go left, and all the guys that went right died. And he just said life is, was boiled down to pointing the finger and saying right or left.
My
And-
Uncle Calvin, Gary told, Gary, Calvin's oldest son, Calvin's my mother's brother, 5 years older than she is. He was in Great Britain. It's the same idea, Megan. And he was supposed to get on the ship to go to Omaha, the ship that was bombed by a German U-tube in the English Channel and sank, and everyone aboard was killed. But he'd gone out the night before they were supposed to get on that ship and had been out partying, which I find so hilarious because my mother was so Southern Baptist. But when he got back, he had an earache, so they put him in the hospital for his earache, and he wasn't on the ship.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Just-
It's that same
Did you ever use
idea.
that to tell Grandma, see, good things come from going out?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing,
Yeah.
man.
Right?
Well, you know the story about my mother, don't you? And
Which
David?
one?
Oh, it's hilarious. David
Oh.
and Sarah are visiting,
Oh God. Okay.
and
Can't wait.
my mother goes, there was a young couple over there, and
Oh
they're
yeah.
actually living together
Yeah. This is a
in
great
sin.
one.
No, Grandma, people don't do that, do they? And of
like
course, there's
David,
David and
David's
Sarah. Years
just
before they
stringing it out.
She goes, yes, David, they were. Oh, Grandma.
I can
that's
see the
terrible."
twinkle in his eye right now, just
God.
loving
Yeah.
every second of
Well,
that.
what's so hilarious about it is David tells me only after my mother had told me. I'd gone to visit Teen Mom first, then David. He goes, yeah, Grandma was pretty fit. And my mother goes, and David agreed with me. And I'm going, oh, yeah, Mom, okay.
Of course he did. Oh, funny.
So I heard it from both of them, so it's got to be true.
But I
right?
bet your uncle let it out with your dad because your dad probably did not ask him. If anybody asked him that, then
Yeah, you didn't want
And
to
that's
say anything.
exactly what happened. My dad said he just sat there and listened and didn't say a word, just let him speak his truth. And the other thing he said is that, after the beach was stormed and won, that there were, of course, all these Nazi soldiers, and they put them in a cave, and they were starving. I mean, they were kids, and they were starving, and they were terrified, just like everybody else. And they had asked Al and another American guy. They gave them a gun, and they had them guarding these hundreds of guys in this cave. And he said there was no reason why these guys wouldn't just uprise against them, and the two guys against her, but they were just done. They were starved. They were, I'm sure,
Wanting the war to be
so
over.
war weary, and they just
they were docile and they were easy
Yeah.
to guard, thank God.
right. So those were the two main things that I remember. My dad, of course, Eric and I get back, and I'm sure we'd gone up to Coeur d'Alene and probably party while my dad's having this life-changing experience, and he just said, he told us on the drive back down, and gosh, it was really something to hear that. So
Yeah, it kind
But
of.
we,
It seems like it kind of depends on who it is. And I had a buddy in high school. His grandfather was a door gunner on B-17s, and he told me all kinds of stuff about it.
yeah,
Who was that?
right.
Brett Weathers' his grandpa.
Oh, okay.
we were lucky because my dad was too young for World War I and too old for World War II. And then, and my brother didn't get drafted, I think he would have been a conscientious objector.
Oh, Gene and Jim, yeah.
He said he's all set to go to Canada. Not a conscientious objector, he was gonna go to Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, Steve English was a
Oh, right, there's
Oh,
that.
conscientious objector, yeah.
Yeah.
I
My
thought
dad.
they went in as medics if you were a CO.
Well, Steve was like in the secretary pool or something, and then yeah.
My dad tells a story when he was at the University of Idaho. Because he was an education major, he was able to get waivers for the draft. And I guess that, he was on the track team and had track practice every day after class, and just had no time to go to the office. And he finally decided he had to go to the office to put in his documentation that he was an education major and that he was still in college, so that the draft wouldn't send him a letter. Because once you are sent a letter, it's done. Like you can't, like, you have a draft letter, it's official, you go. And he went there and brought in his papers, and the woman who was typing up draft letter after draft letter said, "What's your name?" And he said, I'm Charles Smith." And she said, "Charles Smith?" And she had written CHAR, and she had his name. She was typing up his letter the moment he brought in his letter.
Phew.
And she took it out.
That
from
would
the
have been for
typewriter.
the Vietnam War.
Yeah, for the Vietnam War.
Well, Tom was 1A for Korea.
You said what? 1A?
Oh, that was the highest you were gonna go.
You were going, yeah. If you're 1A, you're going.
But he talked in, a lot of fraternity brothers into, the naval ROTC,
Mm-hmm.
and they all passed and he didn't because of his eyes.
Oh, really?
And then he tried again, and Stan drove him, and he said, "Get in the back seat and close your eyes all the way to the draft board so that your eyes will be okay when you get there."
Wow,
And they
wow.
weren't. And so then Stan said, "I'll just go in and do it for you." Yeah, you could imagine
Yeah,
Stan
the
saying that.
patriotism.
And Tom chickened out, which was better. And it used to make him so mad. He'd say, "I'm okay to pass out socks in the army, but not to be in the naval program."
Yeah,
And so he wasn't.
yeah. Huh.
And then I was pregnant, and I went to the draft board and gave them the documentation that I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And so he went straight from a student deferment to a fatherhood deferment.
Uh-huh.
And about 2 years later, they abolished that.
Oh.
You couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Dad was drafted at the end of World War II and got
Yeah.
out, got married, was on his honeymoon, and was drafted for the Korean War. And they knocked on, his dad's, my grandfather's house, okay? And they said, "We need Allie Grace, he's been drafted." And Grandpa lied to him, said he didn't know where or sent him the opposite direction.
Yeah.
They're honeymooning in Lovelock, Colorado, and Grandpa sent him the opposite direction to try to find him. But when he got home, he of course had to go off. So Netta was born in Camp Polk, Louisiana.
Oh, yeah. I
Even though
did
she
remember.
got pregnant like 3 months after they got married, but Dad never had to go. He always trained the troops because when he was 16, a nail went through his left eye when he was roofing his uncle's barn,
Huh.
the farm nearby. So
Yeah,
you
he
could
was a-
see
He was
the
a drill
pupil.
sergeant.
Yeah, you could see. So the pupil, you could see where the nail had gone in, right in the
Ooh,
pupil. Yeah. And he said, as a 16-year-old boy, he laid for days in the hospital with his eyes wrapped, not knowing if he'd ever see again.
Oh my gosh.
So he had to learn. Same thing Tom did. So even though my dad was right-handed, he shot left-handed
Oh.
because of the eye,
Huh.
like Tom
Which
did.
Tom did too.
Yeah.
Why did Tom do that?
He just had terrible eyes. He had, his grandmother had it, his mother had it. It's where you can't see it when you look at somebody, but one eye turns in a little bit.
Oh.
And so Tom's mother always wore glasses, and her mother. And then Brad got it, but they knew what it was,
Mm-hmm.
and they did surgery on him when he was, how old was he?
Yeah, he's like 8 or something.
Yeah,
Mm.
about 8. And he had to wear the eye patch
eye patch,
to
yeah.
train.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Strengthen.
There we
the
go.
muscles.
Go Marcus. Go
And all
Marcus.
they do
Go.
is cut a little something,
Yeah.
and then your eyes go fine.
Yeah.
Although his eyes aren't as good as his brother's,
Yeah.
but he didn't have that problem. But
Huh.
it ran in the family.
Right. By the way, Elizabeth has an optometry appointment on Tuesday, I believe. The Lions came in and tested the second grader's eyes, and they suggested that Elizabeth get a
I
follow up.
think Reed has to have one too.
Huh.
We'll see.
It's such a bizarre thing for me. I'm just like,
No,
What?
not my children.
That's supposed to happen, I know.
Yeah. He says, looking at me with my glasses.
Yeah,
Not
no,
my children.
Hey,
I just heard about your family genetic predisposition for an eye condition that perhaps you passed along to our daughter. No. Who knows?
Well, don't make her feel ashamed about it.
oh no, no.
No. I think Elizabeth
I think Matt needs to
well
wear 'em all the time.
knows.
Really.
I think Elizabeth well knows that she is the apple of her daddy's eye.
As she
Good.
well should be.
Oh, it's wonderful to hear all these different stories about everybody's families.
And then when the person is deceased, you wish that you had asked them more questions. At least I do.
Always.
Wish I had heard more
Yeah.
about different things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No, but I think your uncle talking to your dad is behind what my dad was trying to say.
Yeah, I would
Finished
imagine.
watching this game yet?
No, 'cause stuff keeps happening. I'm good.
Matt, sit
Switch it back
down.
in a second.
Matt,
What?
sit down.
Why?
Titans game is on commercial.
Because I feel guilty when you're working all day long and we're sitting
Cooking
there.
anymore. Everything's cooking.
But you've been on
Everything's
your
ready.
feet since, what, 7 this morning?
Yeah, something like that.
So the Casanovas, though, because there's the Casanovas are part of your family as well.
Tom's dad. Tom's dad's sister married a man named Casanova.
Got it. Okay, so that's where the cousin,
Yeah.
your cousin.
He's my dad's first cousin, and then like Tommy Casanova is my second cousin.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
our dads were first cousins.
Okay.
So.
And I think about them, and they just don't exist for me. When Tom was alive, that was different. But
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I did talk to Billy and Bobby Casanova,
Oh yeah. you
Billy,
told
the
me that, yeah.
girl, the wife, once I think after Tom died. But I can't imagine that Tom Senior is still alive.
No, I don't think so.
But they were sure fun to visit.
Oh, in Louisiana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Crowley.
What'd you say?
Crowley.
Crowley, the rice capital of the world, is where Dr. Tom and his son, Dr. Tom,
Oh,
and all their kids live.
doctor of what?
Ophthalmology.
Oh, interesting.
Tommy
He's a
was with the Cincinnati Bengals professional football.
Oh, sure. Okay.
He was an All-American for LSU.
I remember you. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the last time we were there, we met Katie and Morgan and I guess is Isabel and Grace. And Grace was a baby, I think. And Isabel and one of Tommy Jr.'s daughters just had to hit it off and had a wonderful time. But in fact, maybe it was Isabel and Grace, because if they were old enough to really play with each other, it must have been Piper, because I remember Tom Sr. holding Piper up. And
I still have the hardest time like seeing Piper as being a funny one. When I remember Morgan having the guitar out and Piper is, I think, a 2-year-old or something is going over there singing something while she's stringing the guitar for him.
yeah, she was always the best-natured child in the world. 5 foot. She and Sadie Thiel Watson are both 5'11".
Yeah, fabulous.
She could stand right
Piper.
beside you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Piper was so cute playing with the little ones at Marty's wedding reception. She was really cute with them.
Yes, yeah. And Isabel and Piper played with those boys the day before in the pool. Oh my gosh. At Celeste's wedding, yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
Now what's this game, Matt?
Titans.
Tennessee Titans, Indianapolis Colts.
What's the score? I can't see it because
Is that